For those of you that don't know, and we're happy to admit this, and it sounds kind of funny, but we are water snobs. And if you saw our video last year where we did the ultimate water upgrade, we're back at it again, and it is even better than ever. And we wanted to show you this new product that just came out from Lippert. I have in my hands right now one of the very first production units of the new Wanderer made by Lippert through a partnership with Acuva. And we've used not this unit, but a very similar unit in the past for over a year, and it was one of the best upgrades that we did. You can go through a variety of water upgrades with different filters and different products. What we've chosen to do is kind of go off the deep end and do just a completely incredible system where we know that any water source that we tap into is going to be healthy for our family and ultimately taste really good too. Or I should say, not taste like anything, because ultimately that's what you want your drinking water to taste like. Our system, before it gets to this beautiful Wanderer unit, is a 3-stage onboard system by ClearSource, and then we have a water softener from Pro Aqua ahead of that as well. So not only do we have soft water, we have very great filtered water, and then this is the icing on the cake, which is a UV water filtration system, and that's gonna kill anything that was remaining. But ultimately, the most important thing is take out things like the taste of chlorine and just different tastes that you might get from campground to campground. Before getting started with any install, it's always a good idea to get your parts list in order, just to make sure you've got everything. And you can see here that this is a pretty simple parts list. It's not overwhelming, which is great. And do not let the drill intimidate you, because all that's going to be used for is to screw in some screws to hang the unit, and then ultimately to hang the pre-filter as well. You could technically probably get by with just a screwdriver, but we're going to go for speed here with the drill. And we are also using the 12-volt hookup instead of the 110-volt, even though we probably could have gotten by with the 110. We want to be able to run this system when we are off shore power, and technically you can use this to pull off your tank, and that drinking water is now purified and you can actually drink it. So we've got the brains of the operation here, which is the actual filtration unit, and it's got some in and out ports here, which will make sense as we start to install it. And then we've got the smart faucet, which is the second component of this incredible water filter system. We've got a little connection. This is a shark bite connection that will allow us to tap into the cold water line. And I've actually already installed this because I had to fix a water leak a couple days ago. So you'll see that already pre-installed. But let's go ahead and get to the install so you can see where we're going to put this. I went ahead and cleared everything out of our cabinet here underneath the sink, so it is nice and easy to move around and very clean. And we happened to have our rig in for service at Alliance just a few weeks ago, and we're really thankful because we asked if they could run some 12-volt to this island, and they did. So previously we didn't have 12-volt. We were going to just use this 110 connection up here to be able to do the normal outlet and just put another one in and flip it around so that we could install it, which is always an option for you. But like I previously mentioned, we really wanted this 12-volt setup so that we could use this system when we were offshore power and ultimately, you know, be able to pull off the freshwater tank. So it's going to be pretty clean and easy here. We have this piece of wood already run because of a shelf that we have on the outside that we use that for some bracing. So that's already complete. Most people will already have a place to hook up to, but this is where we're going to install the actual unit itself. And then back on this back wall, we're going to put the pre-filter and hang that there. And then basically all you really do is run all your water lines, and it's very easy because they're all push to connect. So super simple, don't even need tools for it. And then once you do that, you just connect your 12-volt and then run a drill hole through the counter. Okay, now that that's mounted, the next step is actually pretty easy. And you literally just clip this thing on. So that was one-handed. Very, very simple. You just push down on it, make sure that it clips into the bracket, and it'll slide back and forth a little bit, but overall it's very secure. So this next phase, you can go in whatever order that you really want. I ended up just getting the 12-volt hooked up really quick, so I just ran it through these quick connects, and then ultimately you're going to make sure that you want to fuse this. So I ended up using a 3-amp fuse, which is what they suggest to use with this, and then we'll just run this up to the unit once we're ready to turn it on. And next up, I'm going to install the water filter back here on this back wall, which will keep it up and out of the way. So this little clip is easy to install. It's just that one little screw, and then this will actually clamp down on top of the pre-filter once it is placed in here. You just have to be mindful of which direction it's telling you for this flow. So we want to make sure we point that towards the unit, and then you just push it in, clips in nice and tight. I'm actually going to work backwards in connecting these water pipes. So I'm going to start at the unit and go in the in spout and then connect that to the pre-filter, and then we'll get to work on the faucet. We'll connect the faucet, and then our last hookup will be running this up to our water source here and connecting it through this T connection. So as I had mentioned, I have already pre-installed this because I had to add these better shut-off valves because we were having a small leak. So I went ahead and just put this in, and it's super easy. All you do is you cut your blue water line, your cold water, and then you literally just push this down and then push that down into the water line, and you're connected. And then once you turn it back on, if you are doing this in 2 steps like I did, just make sure this twist valve is off so that you don't have water spraying out of this spigot here. So all you'll have to do is just push these in, and you'll feel them click, and that's by design. So these are the quick connect fittings. So you'll want to give it just a little tug just to make sure it's secure, but otherwise you're going to be good. So in this case, our furthest right is the inlet. So I'm going to measure this over to that little point here, which is about right there. And you've got to make sure you just accommodate a little bit extra because that's going to push up and into the unit. And you can use whatever cutting tool you feel necessary. I've got these PEX pipe cutters, so I'm just going to use those. So the furthest right, so I'm going to push up. Okay, that is plugged in. Next up, we are going to run the smart faucet, and first, I kind of lied to you guys. We actually have the drill so that we can use a drill bit here to create a hole for where the smart faucet's going to go. So still not intimidating, but definitely one more tool that you're going to need. And so we have all this beautiful black hardware, and the smart faucet is stainless steel, but they do have a black version, and so we're going to be swapping that out here once we get our hands on one of those, and ultimately everything will match. So I'm just going to figure out a good spot for this where it's not going to run into the bottom of the sink when I'm drilling it, but that ultimately that it looks proportional to the countertop setup that we have here. So we're using a 5/8 inch. This is technically like a hole saw bit, but you can get a drill bit that is that size as well. And I've already set the faucet up and figured out exactly where we want it, which is going to be right here. So when that sits down, we'll have enough room to clear the other faucet, and then ultimately, once we switch this out to black, everything will be matching and look really good. But you'll be able to buy a package with the matte black if that fits your style better. We just happen to have one of the first production units and didn't have that available yet, which we wanted to just get this installed because it's such a game changer for our lifestyle. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start drilling here. And this does get a little loud, so be prepared for that. And technically you should probably throw some safety glasses on too. So there's a couple components to this, which are all equally important, and these being some of the most important. So this is going to go in the end of our PEX pipe that's coming in. So we've got to make sure those are handy. But basically this drops down in here. You can see that's a nice tight fit. And you need to make sure you run your cable in there first, because this is actually what connects to that control unit. And you'll see once we get this turned on, it's got a beautiful little blue light that turns on so that you know the unit is working and purifying your water. So you can see that's a fairly tight squeeze, but everything fits very nicely. And it's nice and snug even without having our tighteners on there. And so what you're going to do is get up and under the sink, and this one's going to go on first. And it's got this O-ring in here, which creates a nice seal against the countertop. So that's going to go on first, and then we'll screw this one on, which will hold it on. And then this will be our last piece, which we'll have to connect these fittings into the PEX pipe and then connect this one on. And it's really tight underneath there, so I'm not really gonna be able to show you because the camera won't get a good angle. But I'll show you what the finished product looks like here after I get this tightened down. So here's where we're at. And again, this is really tight in here, so it's hard to see, but we've got the plumbing run going up to the smart faucet. We've got the cable that plugs into the unit. This is all tightened down up top here, so it's nice and snug against the countertop. This cable is running up to the unit and is plugged in, so that's what is going to get our LED light on the faucet. And then we have our other end here, which I'm going to kind of tuck up and out of the way, and then this one is going to plug into our far left quick connect, just like that. Push that up nice and firm. Okay, that is nice and snug. And I'll have to get some zip ties here. I'll clean this up a little bit, but we'll just leave it down here for now to finish out the installation. Right, I wanted to show you guys something really interesting, and this is in the spirit of transparency and also eating some humble pie. So basically, the light was turning on the unit and it was green, and it turned off and it never turned blue. So you're looking for that blue, which means that the unit is actually disinfecting everything and it's working. So at that point, you just kind of start troubleshooting. So basically what I did is I followed the instructions that were provided, which again, this is one of the first production units, so there's still some things being finished and finalized. And this was really great because I actually noticed the installation instructions were different than a quick little video that I was sent with someone from the Lippert Technical Institute installing this. So I was able to help them resolve an issue, which is that the installation instructions were different than what was actually supposed to be done. So my error, and where I am eating some humble pie, is what I should have done is looked at the actual unit to see where the in and out was labeled. And I did not do that. I just relied on the instructions. So just always when you're installing anything, it's just a reminder for myself to make sure you're looking at the actual unit itself that you're installing. But this is kind of good because it shows me and gives me the ability to show you how to get these quick connect fittings disconnected so you can pull something out. So it's really as easy as pushing down on these gray fittings, and then you just use your other, I'm going to see if I can do this with one hand. You use your other hand, this is definitely a two-handed job, but use your other hand to then pull the tube out, which, there we go, I was able to get it with one hand, and that disconnects it. So all I need to do is just flip these. So immediately after making that switch, and I'm turning my light off here so we can see the blue. So I'm going to turn this water spigot back on, and you'll see that it goes blue. So now it means that this unit is working. It is purifying the water, and we are good to go. So I'm going to run this for about another minute, and then we're going to do the taste test. Now it's time for the taste test. Get your favorite Yeti. Mine happens to be the Lippert brand ambassadors one, which is super cool. And so since we already installed everything and we're good to go, all I'm going to do is turn this, and you see we got the blue light there. So that's pouring a nice little glass here, and we'll give her the first taste test. Yep, we definitely missed that. So we've been about, let's say 9 weeks, actually probably closer to 10 weeks, between the transition of our last RV and this beautiful new Alliance Valor toy hauler. And since we just now put this in, we haven't had it. And granted, I do want to say we've had the Clear Source on board for about half that time, and that's the 3-stage onboard Pro unit. But at the end of the day, there's still just a little bit of taste in some places that we go of like chlorine or something in that category. And again, we're water snobs. So if you're in the same category that we are and you want the best of the best, and I'm not going to say money isn't an object because this stuff is definitely within the realm of reach. It's on the pricier end because these units are not inexpensive. However, we're getting exactly what we want. We're not wasting plastic on a bunch of plastic bottles. We're not having to go to Walmart and fill the 5-gallon jugs like we were doing. You're paying for convenience, and ultimately over time you will get the savings back. But this is some really, really good water. We have one last taste test though that we need to do, and that's the boys. So let me get their bowl here. This is kind of cool too, because then if you have a dog or a cat, they can have better than bottled water. And you don't have to waste bottled water on them. Ooh. Tastes good, doesn't it? Okay, well we got 2 thumbs up here. We got 2 paws up here. And we got 2 paws up here. We found a winner.